All right, 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM listeners, right here tonight, we actually have a fellow Canadian in the building. We have a phenomenal individual that is actually making serious waves, not only in Canadian hip-hop, but just hip-hop in general. We have the very phenomenal Count Klassy right here, live on the line, man. How are you doing this evening?
Man, I'm doing well. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's really an honor.
Hey, man, you are most certainly welcome, man. Honestly, I'm going to be truthfully honest with you, man. You can't have a Canadian radio station without having Count Klassy on the airways, man. So, you know what I mean?
Thank you. I'm doing my best to represent Toronto, which is where I call home, and represent Canada as a whole, so I appreciate it.
I got to say as well, man, I absolutely love Toronto. I traveled there about 4 times this year. And honestly, man, definitely my favorite city in the entire world. And I'm not just saying that because we actually have a 647 boy in the building. I'm just saying it in general. I love Toronto.
I love Toronto because it's the mecca now where things are starting to really take off and blossom. In movies, in music, I mean, we've had a great roster of Canadian talent come through, but within the last 15 years, especially with Drake and OVO, really taking the branding to the next level. I'm excited to come out of Toronto because all the other cities are so saturated, and Toronto's like a gold mine.
I gotta say, I definitely agree, man. And when you actually said about movies and whatnot, man, I think like Adam Sandler was actually walking around the streets, and even like Arnold Schwarzenegger was riding bikes around Toronto. I couldn't imagine just being able to walk past and see Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Terminator, just riding a bicycle down Toronto.
It's actually pretty cool. I do a lot of work in LA as well, so it's very familiar to like walk down the street and see someone that you recognize. But to see that in your own home turf, it's definitely like a fishbowl kind of lens. You're kind of like, oh crap, they're over here. You know, I hope they have the best time in my city. I wish I can go and say hi, you know, but it's all good. I'm glad that Toronto is the way it is right now.
But also, Count Klassy, I got to take you back to the beginning of your amazing career this far, man. And I have to ask, what originally inspired you just to pursue a career in the music industry initially, man? Because you're such a phenomenal MC.
Wow, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, I've been listening to music my whole life. My dad is a very huge music fan. I'm very inspired by what he used to listen to. Old school island music, old school hip hop, you know, old school rock. It really inspired kind of what I wanted to do and what I wanted to bring to the genre. And my family works in the music industry in Los Angeles. And so just through them, I was able to start networking and ghostwriting for a couple other artists and labels. And then I thought, you know what, I'm pretty sparkling on my own. So I wanted to get in front of the camera, and I wanted to just bring out the message that I have inside me, because there's no point going to the grave without letting the world hear your message inside.
And I gotta say as well, man, you have had such a tremendous career so far, man. You actually had the opportunity to be mentored by George Brown of the iconic Kool and the Gang, man. I have to ask, as a Kool and the Gang fan, what was it like just working alongside George? And of course, man, how did that opportunity originally come to be for you?
Well, you know, it's all about getting down on it. You know, it's locking in those opportunities. So my family works with Kool and the Gang direct, and just through there, I was just like a fly in the wall. And I went to actually George Brown's house, and he has a private studio. And at that time, Stevie Wonder actually called in, which was such a phenomenal experience. But just through those interactions and him getting to know me, him giving me some PR work, I was able to kind of really branch out and say, listen, George, I'm an artist now. Tell me what you think. And he listened, and he says, keep doing what you're doing, because most artists, they're gonna quit before they reach that success. But as long as you keep driving through, you know, you're gonna eventually get there. And he's like, take it from me. And I was like, you know what? So those were words I needed to hear to keep going.
And when you said a few moments ago as well about Stevie Wonder calling in, did you get the opportunity to actually converse with Stevie, or was it just kind of like you were on the sidelines just listening to the telephone call?
I was on the sidelines, but, you know, Stevie Wonder has such a recognizable voice. So when he came in, I was like, I turned to my aunt, and I was like, is that Stevie? And she was like, yeah, he's calling in. So he was talking to George about doing some sort of charity raffle. They had a guitar that they wanted to sign an autograph for some kids sports team in the area in Southern California. So him calling in like that, still just as chipper, just as we all know Stevie Wonder to be. So it was definitely a cool experience to kind of live through, I guess, a moment of history like that.
And also as well, man, on November 28th of 2019, you actually partnered up with Shiloh to actually release the amazing collaborative single titled Missing No Meals. I was wondering if you can actually tell us a bit more about this single, and of course, what was it like just working alongside Shiloh in the studio?
Yeah. So Shiloh was a great artist from Kansas City. At the time, I met him through Los Angeles, and I was creating an EP, an album, and the theme was 7 Deadly Sins. So there's only 7 tracks on it, and each one was a reflection of a sin that we kind of acculturated into our society. And so I needed a song about gluttony, and I reached out to Shiloh and I said, "Yo, which sin are you the most you resonate the most with?" And he goes, "Gluttony, hands down." So I was working with the producer Ruben Ocean, and I said, "Can you create me a beat that sounds sluggish? I want to turn up the bass on it." And we wrote a couple of lyrics, and it was fun wordplay because it's about eating a lot of food. There's a lot of one-liners on just food in itself, which is such an interesting topic to start rapping about. And the song itself, it doesn't take us too seriously. We're here to have some fun. It's about missing no meals for all the people that love to eat and aren't worried about what society thinks about their body. I promote, you're beautiful and fat. Yeah, you're fat, but you're also beautiful. You're kind. You're inspiring. So it's a song just for everyone that's tired of listening to songs catered towards skinny people.
And I gotta say as well, man, not a lot of individuals actually put those messages in their songs, man. As you know, a lot of hip hop, they have storylines and they have, other amazing stuff they talk about, but they don't really touch on those topics. I have to ask, what really made you decide to sit back and be like, you know what, this needs to be spoke about within hip hop?
So as we know, rap and hip hop, it comes from the roots of oppression. Marginalized people living paycheck to paycheck, if not hustling on the street, trying to feed their kids, and there's always been such a resistance to authority and things like that, and it comes from stories of lived experiences, and we hear old school hip hop take that and really define the genre with it, but then you hear new school hip hop, it kind of changes a bit. It's a little bit more commercialized, kind of focuses on the top 3 things, sex, partying, drugs, whatnot. But there's always room for new groups of people to embrace that hip hop culture. And I'm talking maybe the LGBTQ community here, that are into hip hop. There's always a demographic out there that's always willing to listen to what you got to say. And so I just talk from my own experiences. I talk about my own love stories and my own heartbreaks and things like that other people could resonate to. And I know that there isn't so many lanes out there for artists like me, so might as well create my own lane, my own sound, my own style, and put myself, as a figure in this industry that I want people to look up to and say, wow, Klassy did it. Klassy did it for us. And I hope that one day people can look back and see me as an icon, the next Elton, the next Madonna. But, of course, it's a lot of work you got to put into that first.
And when you mentioned the LGBTQ community a few moments ago, I have to touch base on that, man, because as your fans already know, you were a member of that community. And I was wondering if you can actually tell our listeners a bit more about that. And of course, one thing I have to ask, because there isn't a lot of hip hop artists that are a member of the LGBTQ community, is it difficult for you to actually sometimes get over as an artist or be accepted, or does hip hop artists in your area just welcome you with open arms?
It's a bit of both. There's always going to be haters, no matter what you put out, no matter what you look like, what you sound like. There's always going to be someone that hates you. So as long as you can get past that barrier and you really focus on your true artistry, you're going to find your success, and you're going to find the people that love you for who you are. And so with the queer community, they really embraced my style. But I'd like to also create music that everyone likes to listen to. Yes, they're a quick go-to demographic that I can write music for. But it doesn't mean that my music isn't for that middle-aged mom living in Barrie, Ontario, or, some of the homeboys that I hang out with in, downtown Toronto. I try to create a little bit of flavor for everyone so that at the end of the day, you have all different groups of people coming together to listen to a song that they all vibe with. And that's what really I'm all about. Toronto's all about that diversity, that element. And that's what I try to bring into the music. So with LGBTQ, they're usually very, it's a minority group that thankfully we're starting to get a lot more recognition, especially in music. Shout out to, someone like Lil Nas X who really took it there to the mainstream. As someone who writes music from the queer lens, some artists that are LGBTQ, they kind of push the envelope a little bit with their lyricism, and I think Klassy is more melodic, a little bit more tame. I use a lot more euphemisms as opposed to just explicit material. So it's a little bit more fun to write. But I hope that, and I know that people are enjoying listening to it, and I hope that I can inspire a whole next generation of kids to really be passionate and do what they want to do, because I never had that as a kid.
And also, as well, you have actually had the opportunity to ghostwrite for multiple Grammy Award-winning artists for the past 5 years. I was wondering, could you tell us a bit more about those opportunities? And, of course, what was it like also being able to handle their digital marketing portfolios?
For sure. So I actually started doing just social media ghostwriting, and I would get access to their accounts, which, could be dangerous, and I would go in and just like people's statuses or like their interaction with the artist and respond, especially after a show when fans are reaching out saying, great show, great show. They need someone to kind of help, monitor their socials. So I actually was very fortunate to work on a couple of accounts. And then through there, I networked and was able to get in with some labels and create song books that I was able to write just whatever lyrics I had going on. I always write it and keep it in my song book so I can always reference it later on. And I was able to sell some of it. So through there, I got a couple good gigs that paid off some of my account class bills. As you know, being an independent artist can be quite expensive if you don't have that backing from somewhere. So I'm very fortunate to be able to have those opportunities to help me do what I love to do.
And if you don't mind me asking, I do know, hence the main word in this, ghost writing. Are you allowed to kind of mention who you've actually worked with? Not particularly what song, but are you allowed to tell individuals what artists you actually had the opportunity to work alongside if you don't disclose any other additional information? Because I'm not gonna lie, I'm actually very intrigued, but I also don't want to get you in trouble either, right?
That's always the number one question. I know you're a ghostwriter, but who do you actually ghostwrite for? I can't, unfortunately, say, because I've signed NDAs that I get sued out of my ass for, but I can say that they're artists that are signed to Warner Brothers. So that's pretty much it. That's pretty much what I can pretty much disclose without getting myself into too much trouble and ending my career before it started.
I got to say, first and foremost, I'm not going to pry, but you got to admit, at least I tried. But no, when you actually said being able to go into their accounts, though, man, I actually did not know celebrities did that. I always thought they were authentic, man. So like, if I ever go to a concert and I get a reply from an artist, I will definitely be like, you know what, is that really them? It's really gonna make me question it now.
You know what? There's a ton of celebrities that take accountability with their own socials. They prefer that. They love the interaction. But there are some celebrities that are constantly touring or making new music, and the last thing they need is all these distractions from notifications on socials. And it's also not good for their mental health. As you know, you and I know, we're both social media people, and mental health is a huge thing on socials. There's a lot of negative comments. So sometimes when you're busy trying to work on your career, the last thing you want to see is haters trying to bring down your career. So they do employ people to run their accounts, and I think that's one of the biggest benefits.
And also, as well, on June 19th of 2020, you actually released the phenomenal 7-track album titled 7 Deadly Sins. I was wondering if you can actually tell our listeners the story behind this album, and of course, where can we actually buy or stream ourselves a copy of it today?
Absolutely. 7 Deadly Sins is very special to me because I had this concept in my mind for a couple years, and I wanted to release a track for every sin that we kind of glorify in our society, but in a fun pop, hip-hop, rap sound kind of way. And I started writing by it all. It was based off the sin of greed, and I was very into Young Money at the time, so I think you can hear the influence in some of my lyricism. And I ended up putting together a 7-album EP that I released on June 19th, which is Juneteenth. So part of my proceeds of the album that are sold goes towards the legal defense team of the NAACP, as well as any of our proceeds that are sold online goes towards a future initiative that I'm planning on working with Sick Kids Hospital to create a some sort of benefit concert that we can kind of raise money for the trans youth clinic there. And with the EP itself, it found some pretty good success. I was able to get a Cameo profile so I can make shout-outs videos for some of my fans, and I'm very proud of what I put out. I think it's very different sounding from anything that's really been out, especially in Toronto. It's very different sounding for hip-hop, and you can find it on Klassy.com, any of the streaming networks and services, Apple Music, you can find it there. So it's definitely something I'm super proud of.
And also as well, man, I gotta say, that album is absolutely phenomenal. And the one song that I really enjoyed was actually the song Good Vibes that's featuring fellow Canadian legend CKOR-DB. I was wondering if you can actually just tell our listeners a bit more about that single, and of course, what was it like just being able to converse and work alongside CKOR-DB?
Definitely a highlight of my career. I must say that Chalk is one of the kindest people you'll ever meet in hip-hop. And that's not just because he's Canadian. He really proved himself to be that icon. I believe he was the first Canadian rapper to be signed to a U.S. label. He reached very good success in the 90s and the early 2000s. And I wrote Good Vibes based on the sin of sloth. And it was all about just relaxing and feeling good, enjoying your surroundings, taking a moment to smell the fresh flowers as you walk by. Because this world is so fucking chaotic that I wanted to create a song about rolling a good joint, rolling a good blunt, living in that moment, and enjoying things that you take for granted every day. I mean, the first lyrics of the song is I woke up in the morning and I looked at the bright, shiny sun. You know, that's all we need to do to keep us going every day. But there's so many things that preoccupy our mind that we always forget that we're not grateful for just waking up and breathing. So Good Vibes is kind of that homage to, an homage for us to feel good and be grateful for our lives that we're given. Smoke the good stuff, drink that good brandy that you've been saving, you know, do things that you've been wanting to do. And CKOR-DB was really invested in the idea. I reached out to him through direct message on Instagram. I let him know, you know, what my experiences was, who I'm associated with, and I let him know that I'm a queer rapper, and if he's interested in getting involved in the project, you know, working with a gay rapper, something that's, you know, the buzz topic these days, he said absolutely. I listened to the song, he loved the track, and honestly, within 2 weeks, I had his stems back already for the feature.
I gotta say as well, CKOR-DB is a phenomenal individual, and he works very fast as well, man. It's crazy. These guys have been doing it for so long that once they get a feature, it's like, boom, done. Like, it's almost like they get it right back to you. It's like just as quick as a cameo.
Exactly. I mean, it takes me a little bit of time because I gotta book out studios and whatnot, but these guys have all the networks and connections from years past, so they can hit somebody up quickly, get it done within the next couple of days, and have the finished product within a week.
And also, since I mentioned Cameo, I noticed as well that you actually have a Cameo account where individuals can also, you know, I don't need to go through the whole commercial because I'm pretty sure everyone knows how it goes, birthdays, anniversaries, etc. I was wondering if you can tell us a bit more about your particular Cameo, and of course, man, how can individuals book you, and also what are the do's and don'ts when people book you for a Cameo? Because I know some individuals, they want no business, they want it strictly just personal, and other people kind of don't really care about the business aspect either.
Yeah, for sure. You can actually book me on cameo.com/Klassy. Check me out, see what kind of videos I put out. But I do it all. I do business. I do shout-outs. I do birthday celebrations, anniversaries, whatever. You know, when you are a up-and-coming independent artist, you want to grasp on every single opportunity. And saying no is never going to be your friend. So, you know, within reason, of course. But with Cameo, it really allowed me to meet some fans that I never even knew I had from around the world. And when I hear that they're from, from Europe or from a state in the United States, and they hear and they tell me how much my music has really influenced them, how much they love me as an artist, it really validates that experience, because you're always going to be your worst critic, and you always have so much doubt when you release your own soul into the world, your own artistry. So hearing these comments come from Cameo, and then them actually paying money for me to have a shout out to them, really validates me, and I'm really humbled by it. And I love doing it. I love creating fun videos. I put on my Count Klassy shades on, and I really get into that character, and I really try to give them the best performance I can. I believe I'm priced at about $30, but as artists, you can choose your own pricing. But I think that's a pretty fair price for a quick 24-hour turnaround, and it really helps me and reinvest back into my brand. So everything helps.
And also as well, on August 26th of 2022, you actually released the single titled On the Lam. I was wondering if you can actually tell us a bit more about this particular song, and of course, where can our listeners actually buy or stream ourselves a copy of it today?
Absolutely. On the Lam is my newest song out there. It is hot, hot, hot. I love it. It's if you don't know what On the Lam means, it means that you are running from the authorities. You are trying to escape being caught. You are convicted of a certain crime or felony, and you don't want people to know where you are. So you go on the lam. And I use that euphemism as someone who is in a queer body, and I have a rap feature artist, Amira Wang from Kansas City, and she is a proud black woman. And together we got a queer male and a black woman, and our relationships with police and authorities has been very strained. So I wrote On the Lam as a FU to pretty much the bad guys in the blue, right? Because they're always going to argue, not all police, not all cops, but it's enough to really raise awareness, and it's being proud of being in your black skin, and what's our conviction, living in our skin. That's why we're on the lam. So it was just it was a little bit of a fun wordplay. The chorus really is a call and response, and I just had a great time working with a fellow American artist and really expanding my reach to the States and understanding and learning and really appreciating other people's flows and lyricism as they come onto your song.
And I gotta say as well, it definitely is a phenomenal song. So I do suggest that anyone that is listening, if you haven't had the opportunity to stream this song, make sure you stream it, and of course, make sure you add it to your favorite Spotify playlist as well. You know what I mean? Make sure you share the goodness with the entire globe.
Absolutely.
But also, I have to ask, Count, what is next for yourself, man? Because I do know that we only touched base on a little bit of your career here this evening, but is there anything we happen to miss during tonight's broadcast? Anything else you do still want to talk about or promote? What we still got you here live on 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM this evening?
Honestly, I want to take this moment to just thank everyone who's been on this journey with me, and to just remember to do kind things. I think we're really missing that in the world these days. There's nothing wrong with being kind. It's probably the strongest attribute you can bring out there. A lot of people these days in the hip hop and rap industry, they try to go too hard. They try to become something that they're not. And the thing about Count Klassy and my music is that I don't take myself too seriously. I'm here. I'm a bit of a class clown. So I do what I want to do with my own lyrics, and I'm just here to say thank you to everyone that's on the ride with me. Keep in touch, and look forward to some big collaborative projects I got going on in the future. Actually, an international project that I'm really excited about. I can't say too much about it, but it's looking to be like rap's first ever queer cipher. So that's something that's never been done in our game before, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
And also, Count Klassy, this time in the interview quickly that I give a chance for the individual that does slide into the radio station airwaves, just a chance to give shoutouts to whomever they want to give shoutouts to, but most of all, your social media handles. That way our listeners can follow you and stay updated on everything Count Klassy if they're not already doing so.
Absolutely. You can find me everywhere on the internet. I worked very hard on my SEO. It is Count Klassy everywhere. Count with a C, Klassy with a K. If you put it into Google, it'll probably say, "Did you mean Count Klassy?" And just click on that. You can find all of my socials, all my streaming services, just from a quick Google search. And I just want to say shout out to everyone that's been part of this journey. I mean, I really couldn't have done it with people that didn't believe in me. So appreciate everyone, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me on.
Hey, you are most certainly welcome. It was definitely an honor to have you on the radio station dial this evening. Hopefully down the line we can make this happen again sometime soon. But for now, Count, definitely have yourself a phenomenal night, and of course, rest of the week as well.
Thank you so much. Good vibes. Pass it all around.
Hey, most definitely, Count. Thank you so much, and definitely thank you so much again, man. We definitely shall talk soon.
All right. Peace, man. Bye-bye.